Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Ava slammed a shot into my hand and laughed. I'm Jake, 27, and I remember my fingers shaking. The glass tapped my teeth because my grip already felt loose. Chug it, hero, her arm hooked around my shoulders and squeezed. In that moment, I thought it was just party pressure. I knocked it back and my throat went numb halfway down. The afterburn hit late, like my body lagged one step behind. Ava watched every twitch, eyes fixed on my face for reactions. She tilted the bottle again, slow and deliberate over my plastic cup. Somewhere behind her, my girlfriend shouted my name and then vanished. I am good for now, I set the cup down. The room did a short slide left, then clicked back into place. Normally one shot never touched me like that, not even close. Ava nudged the cup toward me with one finger and a grin. If you stop already, everyone will think you are soft. I hate being the weak link, always have since I was a kid. That old impulse still runs deep even when I know better. I lifted the cup halfway, then noticed my hand tremble again. This hits weird, I muttered, more to myself than to her. Her smile stretched wider like she had been waiting for that line. First one always sneaks up, you will warm up, she bumped me. The next swallow tasted dull, like my tongue had fallen asleep. The music seemed to slow down while everyone still moved fast. Voices blurred into one constant buzz that made thinking harder. I forced a joke about getting old, but she did not laugh. Instead, she moved closer, chest against my arm for no reason. Her perfume punched through the air and made my stomach flip. I cleared my whole night for you, she murmured near my ear. I tried to lean back, my balance tipped too far behind. I grabbed her shoulder to steady myself and she did not move. I looked for my girlfriend again, scanned the crowd in front. Faces swam together and I could not lock on anyone. Where is she? My words came out thick like my jaw resisted. Ava rolled her eyes toward the hallway with a quick shrug. Bathroom, run, relax, come chill somewhere quiet till she returns. My brain liked that idea because the noise clawed at me. My instincts hated it because Ava already felt too close. She slipped the cup back into my hand and tugged my wrist. Finish that on the way, you walk like a baby deer. I let her drag me, legs heavy because arguing took effort. The hallway felt narrower than it should, walls closing in. With every step my feet lagged like someone turned gravity up. I bumped the wall once and she snorted under her breath. You are gone already, she said, almost impressed, almost something else. Her fingers stayed clamped around my wrist, pulse hammering through skin. I have been drunk before, stupid drunk, the kind where you sing. This was different, sharp and distant at the same time. Thoughts slid away before I could grab them and check them. That was the first quiet moment where something inside screamed. I knew this was wrong, but my body would not listen. Ava pushed a door open with her hip and pulled me inside. I caught a glimpse of coats hanging, some bags thrown around. Nothing registered as important except the bed against the far wall. She kicked the door shut, the latch clicked louder than the music. My chest tightened because closed spaces with the wrong person feel dangerous. Sit before you faceplant, she shoved my shoulders down toward the mattress. My knees buckled without much resistance, like they welcomed the fall. I landed harder than expected and the room bounced gently. I tried to stand again just to test my own strength. My legs folded useless, and she watched that with quiet satisfaction. She took the drink from my hand and lifted it herself. One more and then you can nap, she said through a little smile. Nap sounded nice, and that thought scared me more than anything. I turned my head away, she pressed the cup against my lip. Liquid spilled down my chin because I kept my mouth shut. Her expression changed then, just a shade meaner, colder. We both know you want to forget tonight anyway, she whispered. That line knifed through the haze, too specific to be casual. My heartbeat slammed against my ears as another memory tried rising. We had argued earlier, my girlfriend and I, about trust. Ava leaned in like she heard that thought echo out loud. She left you sulking, I stayed, that should tell you something. Her fingers slid along my jaw and tilted my head upright. My hand shot up on reflex and grabbed her wrist. I felt how steady her arm was while mine shook. This is messed up, the words crawled out one by one. I moved her hand away and tried again to stand up. The floor rose fast and sideways and I crashed back onto cushions. She laughed once, short and sharp, like she scored a point. You are not going anywhere, Jakes, not until I am done. Her knee slid across my hip and pinned me down. I jerked my shoulders up, arms heavy, muscles lagging behind my mind. She planted one hand on my chest, steady and confident and wrong. Relax, you're fine, she breathed like we had planned this together. In my head, a single word hammered through the fog: danger. I tried to swing my legs off the mattress, they barely lifted. My foot scraped the edge, then dropped like it belonged to someone else. She shifted higher, weight centered, making sure I stayed underneath her. The room stretched and shrank in waves, but her outline stayed sharp. I remember thinking, if I zone out now, I am done. Look at you, she murmured, fingers tracing a slow path along my throat. I always knew you were softer than you pretend, her grin twitched. Her touch was not gentle, it measured how much resistance I still had. I grabbed her wrist again, grip clumsy, but I did not let go. That stubborn move is probably the only reason I remember everything. I have a girlfriend, the words came out rough like my mouth forgot them. It sounded stupid, obvious, but I needed them in the air. She rolled her eyes, then leaned closer until her hair brushed my cheek. She walked off and left you wrecked with me, she whispered. That should tell you who actually shows up when it matters. I twisted my head sideways, her mouth followed, trying to close distance. My neck ached, but I kept turning, staring at the wall instead. Heat crawled up my spine, not attraction, just pure panic and shame. In the moment, I hated how small I felt under someone I trusted. Later, that exact helpless feeling would turn into something much louder. Stop, it came out sharper that time, enough to make her pause. Her eyes narrowed, weighing how far she could push without losing me. You're drunk, not dead, she muttered, fingers tightening against my sternum. Say what you want tomorrow, right now you clearly need a distraction. That line still makes my skin crawl because she knew exactly what she did. My hand slid down her arm, searching for leverage, finding only fabric. I tried to roll sideways, she shifted her weight to block my escape. Her free hand moved toward my waistband, and every nerve in me screamed. I bucked hard on instinct, body moving faster than my fogged thoughts. She lost balance for a heartbeat, and that heartbeat saved me. I shoved again, this time with both arms braced against her torso. She slipped, one leg sliding off the mattress, curse bursting out of her. I used that gap and dragged myself sideways, ribs scraping the bedding. My fingers clawed for the edge, the frame, anything solid and real. I did not care how pathetic I looked, I just needed distance. She caught my ankle and yanked, rage finally breaking through her fake patience. Pain shot up my calf, bright and immediate, cutting through the haze. I kicked free and tumbled to the floor, shoulders slamming something hard. A groan forced itself out of me, half shock, half nauseous fear. For a second, all I could hear was my own uneven breathing. I rolled onto my hands and knees, palms slipping on the fabric under me. The entrance loomed a few steps away, closer than I remembered from earlier. I crawled toward it because walking was not an option my body recognized. Behind me, I heard her move off the mattress with quick, angry steps. Get back here, she snapped like I was the one crossing a line. My hand hit the handle and clung to it, knuckles straining. I forced myself upright, legs shaking, vision trembling at the edges. The noise from the party hit me again the second I pulled open. Music, laughter, random shouts, ugly normal sounds compared to that room. Stepping through that gap felt like dragging myself out of a rip current. She appeared at my side instantly, smile already back on her face. He overdid it, she called out, voice bright, almost playful, almost convincing. Her arm wrapped around my waist like she was guiding a wasted friend. Bathroom run, give us a minute, she tossed toward the nearest faces. They barely glanced over, then turned away, and I wanted to scream. I dug my heels in and grabbed the frame with both hands. No, I need my girlfriend, I managed, words slurring but clear enough. A guy near the snack table frowned and straightened, attention finally hooked. You good dude, his voice floated through the noise, thin but real. I stared at him like he was a rope thrown across water. Ava tightened her hold, nails biting through my shirt into my side. He is fine, just too many rounds, I have him, she insisted. My knees wobbled, but that small witness gave me something solid inside. If you see her, tell her I'm sick, I forced out. I watched his expression shift from mild concern to something heavier. She dragged me toward the hallway leading to the restroom, grip bruising. I let her pull for 3 steps, then sagged dead weight in her arms. She stumbled, swore under her breath, shoulders slamming into the wall. Quit. Making this dramatic, she hissed, breath rough with frustration now. In that crack, I heard it clearly. This was never about helping me. I pushed away from her and lurched toward the restroom sign alone. Every move felt like walking through wet cement, but adrenaline kept firing. I shoved the door open and headed straight for the nearest stall. My stomach gave up the fight, everything I'd drunk came back violent. It was disgusting and humiliating, but it also tore some poison out. She hovered near the sinks, arms crossed, tapping one foot in short bursts. "You are going to thank me when you calm down," she threw out. I wiped my mouth with shaking hands, forehead resting against my wrist. Even in that disgusting moment, one thought cut through everything else. If I pass out near her again, no one will know the truth. I staggered to the sink and splashed water over my face. My reflection looked half awake, pupils blown, skin washed out and scared. I stared at that version of me, the guy who always joked away problems. For once, there was nothing funny to hide behind or soften this. Right there over that basin, I decided I was done playing along. "I'm going outside," my voice came out low, almost calm but final. She straightened, surprise flashing across her features, then something colder settling in. "You walk out like this, she will flip on you," she warned. There it was, her backup plan, holding my relationship over my head. I did not know how yet, but I felt her setting the trap. I brushed past her and gripped the edge of the doorway for balance. The party noise stabbed my ears again, but at least it was honest. Every step toward the back exit felt like walking through a storm. Behind me, I could sense her eyes burning into my shoulders. I did not realize then that escaping that room was only round one. I woke up to fingers digging into my shoulder and my name. My eyes snapped open, the ceiling tilting while my stomach lurched. I was on our couch, not the party, not that bedroom. She stood over me with her arms folded and jaw clenched. One look at her face and I knew the night had followed me home. "You want to explain why Ava cried in my car last night?" Her voice hit harder than any hangover, sharp and controlled and cold. My head pounded in slow, heavy beats, each one dragging guilt behind it. I pushed myself upright, forearms shaking, trying not to vomit again. I had no words yet, just fragments, and she already had a story. I scanned the room for clues, anything that said how I arrived. My shoes lay near the door, laces loose, like someone else removed them. A trash can sat beside the couch with a stained, crumpled towel. So at some point, she had taken care of me despite everything. That detail hurt almost more than her glare because it meant I mattered. "I am waiting," her foot tapped once against the coffee table edge. "She called me from the street, sobbing, shaking, terrified of you." The word terrified stung because it did not belong anywhere near me. My tongue felt thick, but I forced something out before she continued. "What did she tell you happened exactly, not the edited version?" She narrowed her eyes, like the question itself offended her loyalty. "She said you cornered her in a room, drunk out of your mind." Her hands moved as she talked, fingers slicing through the air. "That you grabbed her, tried to kiss her, refused to let her leave." Every accusation landed on my chest, heavy and precise like rehearsed shots. I laughed once, short and bitter, and instantly hated how it sounded. It came out like I did not take it seriously, like I mocked her. "I could barely walk straight," I muttered, knuckles pressed hard into my knees. She locked that door, climbed on top of me, pushed and pushed. Saying it out loud made my own skin itch, like I was talking about someone else. "You expect me to believe that?" Her eyebrow lifted in disbelief. "Ava dragged you away from everyone to assault you while you were wasted." She barked out a humorless noise, more anger than laughter, eyes glassy. "She called me shaking, saying you scared her, saying you would spin it." That last part grabbed my attention because it sounded like preemptive damage control. Did she call before or after I puked my lungs out? The question made her blink, a small crack in her certainty. "What does that matter?" she snapped, but her shoulders dipped a little. "It matters because she knew I would remember at least pieces," I answered. "If she reached you first, she could paint anything she wanted and stick it." She dropped onto the far end of the couch, leaving a clear gap. That distance hurt more than yelling, like she did not trust proximity anymore. Her fingers worried the edge of a cushion, picking at a loose thread. "She called while you were gone," she whispered, staring at nothing. "You disappeared from the party, she went looking, found you in that room." Go. That word connected to a blank stretch in my memory. I closed my eyes, forcing my mind back through the foggy timeline. Hallway, bedroom, her weight, my escape, bathroom, back exit, cold air. I could not fill in how I got from there to here. That missing piece felt like a pulled tooth, raw and demanding attention. Did I walk home with you? I asked, eyes still closed tight. Or did someone else bring me, like that guy near the snacks? I pictured his face from earlier, concern shifting when I asked for help. If he had seen anything, then Ava's version was already cracked. I needed more than my scrambled memory, or this would eat me alive. She rubbed her temple, frustration carving deep lines around her mouth. You stumbled out the back door, barely upright, almost fell 3 times. A friend waved me over, said you were looking for me, looked awful. Her stare slid back to me, heavy and searching like she wanted conviction. I got you into the car, she climbed in beside you, crying, shaking. I pictured them on either side of me, one furious and one frightened. No wonder my brain filed the ride under static, it was emotional overload. What did she say in the car? I asked, voice slow but steady now. Not summaries, exact lines as close as you can remember them. If I was going to fight this, I needed the script, not the trailer. She said you dragged her off to talk and then switched, she recounted. That you started making comments about how my trust is naive, childish. Her throat worked as she swallowed, like repeating it physically hurt. That you pinned her wrist, tried to kiss her, ignored her when she panicked. Hearing my own character twisted like that felt like an actual punch. Look at me, I leaned forward, elbows on my thighs, head bent. When she finally lifted her gaze, I held it, refusing to blink away. If I ever did that to anyone, I would deserve whatever came next. My voice cracked on the last word, not from acting, from self-disgust. But that is not what happened, and she knows it, and that matters. For a second, something in her eyes softened, like she almost believed me. Then her phone buzzed on the coffee table, screen lighting up between us. Her gaze dropped instantly, fingers reaching faster than her thoughts could catch. A notification banner flashed across the glass, Ava's name right there. 3 words sat under it, and they made my spine turn to ice. Is he awake? That was the message, small, casual, loaded with weight. Not how is he, not is he all right, not how are you. Just that question, like she was checking whether the piece on the board moved. Open it, I said quietly, because I wanted to see the rest. I also wanted to know how deep this trap went, and if we were both inside it. She hesitated, thumb hovering above the screen, jaw working side to side. If she's lying, that means my closest friend just tried to destroy you. Her eyes flicked to my face again, searching for cracks for a tell. If she's right, I am living with somebody I don't actually know at all. That was the moment I realized this was not just about last night anymore. Then check the messages from before the call, I pushed, heart racing. If she set this up, it will show up in how she shaped it. I did not know exactly what I expected to find, only that something would. Maybe a test balloon, maybe a joke that was never a joke, maybe worse. At this point, I trusted my gut more than any friendship badge. She unlocked her phone, lips pressed tight, scrolling through their recent thread. I watched the colors shift across her features, confusion, doubt, flickers of anger. There, she murmured, pale fingers stopping on a message from earlier that night. My chest tightened as she turned the screen toward me, almost reluctantly. One sentence from Ava stared back, and it changed everything about that party. The line on her screen punched harder than any hangover. It read, "You sure you still trust him alone with me tonight?" My stomach flipped, not from alcohol this time but from clarity. She had seeded doubt hours before anything in that bedroom happened. She kept staring at the message like it might rearrange itself. Her voice dropped when she finally spoke, almost like she heard something cracking. This looks bad, but it could just be a stupid joke. Jokes do not line up with somebody trapping me in a room. I pointed at the timestamp and heard my own pulse in my ears. Check when she wrote this, then compare it with when she called you crying. If she warned you before anything happened, her story collapses instantly. If she texted after, I would need something bigger than words. She opened the log, thumb trembling just enough for me to notice. The message sat there 2 hours before the party even started. My throat went dry as I realized I had been doomed early. She had primed my girlfriend to see everything through one twisted angle. Zia pressed her palm over her mouth, eyes glued to the screen. I watched the belief drain out of her shoulders, not completely but enough. She whispered that Ava always joked dark when she felt insecure. Insecure does not explain writing that before I even had a drink. I reached for my own phone on the table and unlocked it. My notifications were chaos tonight, random memes and missed calls and a thread from her. Her name sat near the top with 3 messages from before the party. The first one buzzed in my skull as soon as I read it. Do not be boring tonight, I want to see the real you. The second told me to keep an open mind if she flirted. The third promised she would help me loosen up away from my girlfriend. Reading them sober, I finally saw how long she had been steering this. My girlfriend leaned back, head pressed into the cushion like she needed distance. You could have shut her down right there, you know. I nodded because she was not wrong, even if the setup was disgusting. That admission did not erase what happened later, but it twisted the knife. I told her I wanted one thing from her before we took another step. Ask her again what happened, get her to put it in writing. If her version changed at all between calls and texts, we had proof. If it stayed perfect, I would need somebody else from that house. She hovered over the keyboard, thumbs shaking so much she kept mistyping. Finally, she typed, I cannot stop replaying last night, tell me again what scared you. She stared at the unsent bubble for a long breath, then hit send. Those 3 dots popped up fast, like Ava had been waiting for this. My ribs felt like they shrank as the paragraph formed on the screen. She wrote that I cornered her, told her no one could know. She added that I blocked the door and threatened to blame her if she ran. That was new, a detail she never mentioned out loud in the car. My girlfriend caught it the same second I did and looked up sharply. She never told me that part, not once, after all those tears. You heard her calls, I reminded, she never said anything about threats. For the first time, anger flashed in my girlfriend's eyes toward someone else. She tossed the phone onto the cushion like it burned and stood up fast. If she lied about that, what else did she dramatize and what else did she twist? Her voice cracked on the last word and it scared me more than her shouting. Because if she turned on Ava, years of loyalty would explode in our living room. I told her I wanted to talk to someone who was there and sober. Not Ava or me, somebody who saw that hallway and that bed and that door. One name came to mind immediately, the friend who had asked if I was okay. If he confirmed even a piece of my memory, this whole thing changed. I grabbed my keys and ignored the pounding in my skull and headed for the door. She followed a few steps behind, arms wrapped around herself like she was cold. If you talk to him without me, she warned, I will think you are hiding something. Fine, I answered, but either way we are done letting her control the story. Before we stepped out, her phone buzzed again on the table behind us. Another message from Ava flashed across the screen, shorter this time and sharper somehow. If he tries to twist things, I am done covering for him. Reading that after everything we had just uncovered, I finally felt something stronger than fear. Rage settled in, not the loud kind but the steady kind that plans. For the first time since that room, I trusted my memory over hers. She watched my face shift and nodded once like she recognized the feeling. Go talk to him, she whispered, then we decide what to do with her. I opened the door and stepped into the hallway, heart pounding but mind finally clear. Behind me, her phone kept vibrating on the table, each buzz another attempt to steer us. We walked out anyway, leaving it face down and letting the messages pile up. I did not know it yet, but the next conversation would decide which relationship survived. My knuckles smacked his door before I lost my courage. 3 hard hits, then silence, then my heartbeat rushing in my ears. My girlfriend stood beside me with her arms pulled tight across her chest. If Mason did not back me up here, I was done. On the other side, I heard footsteps slow down right at the threshold. The handle turned halfway, stalled, then finished the turn. Mason opened up in sweats and confusion, taking us in with one sweep. You two look rough, his eyes bounced between our faces, reading the tension. He stepped aside without another word, which honestly felt like an answer already. I crossed that frame knowing this talk would choose who I lost. We stayed near the entrance because none of us wanted to get comfortable. My girlfriend held her phone like a shield, thumb resting near the screen. Mason leaned back against the wall, arms folded, jaw set uneven. What happened last night? He asked low like. He already suspected plenty. I took a breath that tasted like old fear and new anger together. I need you to tell her what you witnessed, I started, voice steady. I looked at him, not down, not away, just locked on his eyes. Not rumors, not what you heard from anybody else, only what you saw. My girlfriend shifted her weight but stayed quiet, letting me run point. She trusted this more if it came from someone who had skin in it. Mason frowned, gaze narrowing, like he had been waiting for that phrase all day. I watched a lot of messed up stuff last night, he answered, expression tight. Which part are we talking about? The hallway, the bathroom, the backyard? That list punched through my chest because it confirmed my own patchy reels. He had been tracking more than I realized, and that gave me hope. I told him to start when he first noticed things going sideways with me. He blew out a breath and stared at the floor, organizing the timeline. You were fine at the beginning, he started, hands tracing quick tiny arcs. You were nursing one drink, talking normal, then she pulled you toward shots. He glanced at my girlfriend then, as if checking whether that detail hurt her. I watched her refill your cup when you weren't looking at the table. My stomach tightened because I remembered her topping me off way too fast. You turned away to laugh at something, she leaned in, poured more from her stash. He tapped his pocket like he could still feel the hidden bottle shape there. Not the main bottles, something she brought just for you. My girlfriend's head snapped toward him, eyes wide, hand dropping from her phone. What do you mean just for him? She asked, voice controlled but strained. Mason lifted his palms, defensive, like he regretted the wording already. I mean, I never saw her offer that extra stuff to anybody else. Only you, she kept following you with it like she had a mission. He moved away from the wall and began pacing short, tight lines. I watched her hook her arm through yours and drag you toward the hallway. You were wobbling, and I do not mean cute tipsy, I mean almost out. He shook his head once, annoyed at himself, muttering that he should have stepped in. I remembered that sinking feeling in my gut and realized he had seen it too. When she pulled you down that corridor, I trailed you a little. His mouth twisted, guilt all over his posture, shoulders hunched forward. I called your name, you glanced back, eyes unfocused like you were underwater. A chill crawled down my neck because I remembered hearing my name once faintly. I had assumed it was in my head, but he had been standing there. I reached the doorway as she pushed you inside that bedroom, he continued. I put my hand on the frame, about to walk in after you too. She turned around fast, planted her palm on my chest and blocked me. His hand moved unconsciously to his own chest, replaying the pressure. She grinned and tossed out, girl's best friend duty, I've got him. My girlfriend flinched like someone had slapped her with those words. She fixed her stare on a spot above his shoulder, fighting something back. She told me she was trying to escape him, she muttered under her breath. Hearing that fresh layer of manipulation made my teeth grind together. Mason froze at that, then the anger in his face shifted direction completely. You were not chasing her, he said firmly, eyes locked on me. From where I stood, you barely kept your feet under you in that doorway. You kind of fell sideways onto the mattress when she shoved your shoulders. My hands curled into fists, nails pressing hard into my palms to stay grounded. That simple physical detail lined up perfectly with the impact still in my bones. I asked him what he heard next, because most of my memory blurred there. He studied me for a moment, checking whether I really wanted the playback. At first, just muffled voices, he said, tone going quieter, gaze distant. I almost walked away, then I heard your voice get sharper, not flirty sharp. More like someone trying to draw a line while half-conscious. My girlfriend inched closer to him, drawn in despite herself, arms dropping. What exactly did you hear? She asked, needing each syllable to land. He nodded slowly, replaying it with care like he knew it mattered. I heard you say cut it out Ava twice, maybe 3 times. Then something thumped like a body hitting the bed frame or wall. That sound description punched straight through the haze and hit home. I tasted acid again, remembering the roll, the shove, the scramble to the floor. So you heard him tell her to stop, my girlfriend pressed, voice unsteady now. Mason's jaw tightened as he nodded again, more emphatic this time. If I had thought for 1 second you were forcing her, I would have kicked that door in. The room went still for a beat, just our breathing and the distant hum outside. Guilt pressed on me anyway, not for what she accused, but for not leaving sooner. I realized my biggest failure wasn't some betrayal, it was letting her isolate me. That thought lodged in my chest, heavy but clarifying, changing how I viewed myself. I was not just a target, I had ignored earlier warnings because I wanted to be liked. What about the bathroom? I asked, forcing myself back to the timeline. He rubbed the bridge of his nose, thinking, eyes narrowing toward the window. Couple minutes after the thump, she came out alone and straightened her shirt. She laughed when she saw me still there, called me a creep, told me to relax. Then she said, he will thank me tomorrow for loosening him up. My girlfriend's hand flew to her mouth again, a choked sound slipping out. That phrase matched the text we had read earlier, almost word for word. My skin went hot with rage at how practiced she had been all night. None of this had been a misread moment, it was a script she drafted. Mason watched our reactions and finally seemed to grasp how deep this went. I went toward the back later and found you hunched near the exit, he added. You were sweating, shaking, mumbling that you needed fresh air and your girlfriend. You kept saying you felt weird, not just drunk, like something was wrong inside. He mimed my staggered walk, unsteady legs, hands trailing against the wall. That is when I waved her over, told her you were not okay. My girlfriend nodded slowly, piecing it together with what she remembered from the car. I got there after he texted me, not after Ava begged me to rescue her, she realized. The shift in sequence changed everything about whose fear had been real. Her voice grew steadier as she talked, anger bolstering each new connection. I watched loyalty peel away from Ava one layer at a time. I asked Mason if he noticed anything else about my drink that looked off. He hesitated at that, glancing at the kitchen like he considered staying out of it. At one point she stood at the counter with her own cup and a vial, he said. I remember because she covered it with her palm when I came over. I told myself she was dumping vitamins in there or some dumb TikTok hack. A cold shiver crawled up my spine, every hair on my arms lifting. I had wondered if it was just too much alcohol, but now that felt naive. I did not need lab tests to know she had wanted me barely conscious. It was one thing to push shots, another to possibly spike them with something else. The worst part was realizing she had done it while joking with both of us. My girlfriend stepped away then, pacing a short track near the coffee table. You know she told me you threatened her after, she blurted, looking at Mason. That he warned her he would twist the story, that she was scared to even speak. Mason's eyebrows shot up and he let out a harsh, disbelieving snort. When would that have happened? When he was face down near the back door. Silence fell again, but this one felt different, loaded, not empty. My girlfriend braced her palms against the back of a chair, shoulders rising. If I confront her, she will cry and double down, she muttered. She always does that, makes herself the wounded one, drags everyone to her side. You could hear years of history cracking in her voice, and it hurt anyway. Mason lowered himself onto the edge of a chair, leaning forward, elbows on thighs. You cannot let her keep playing both of you like this, he said quietly. I can be there, I can tell her straight up what I saw and heard. He looked at me first, then at my girlfriend, offering something like backup. I realized I no longer wanted to handle this in a private corner. I told them if we confronted her, I wanted it somewhere neutral and public. No bedrooms, no cars, no closed-off areas where narratives could warp again. My girlfriend nodded immediately, that old survival instinct waking up at last. We meet her somewhere she cannot scream her way into being the victim. Hearing her say that made it clear she was finally looking at Ava with new eyes. Mason grabbed his phone and scrolled to her contact with a grim expression. You really want to do this today, he checked, thumb hovering over the screen. If we waited, she had more time to spin, to recruit sympathizers, to erase traces. I told him delay only favored her, not the truth, not us. I was tired of feeling like a ghost in my own story. My girlfriend pulled out her phone too, unlocking it with quick, determined motions. I am the one who invites her, she said, jaw set, shoulders squared. If it comes from me, she will show up thinking she still owns the room. That was exactly what I wanted, her guard low, confidence high, mask on. Mason watched us both, then declared he would record the whole thing in plain sight. She typed the message slowly, choosing each word like a chess piece. Need to see you today, all of us, this can. Odd wait. She added the coffee place near our building, the one with open seating. No private booths, no shadowy corners, no doors you could quietly lock. She hit send before fear could talk her out of it. The reply came almost instantly, just like before when she smelled drama. Of course, I was going to check on you anyway, her text read. There was a smiley at the end, like this was some friendly catch-up. I almost laughed at the familiarity of her performance, furious and impressed. Even now, with everything cornering her, she still trusted her script. Mason stood, grabbed his jacket, and jerked his chin toward the exit. Let's go before she decides to bring an audience, he suggested with a grim tone. My girlfriend slid her phone into her pocket, hands clenched, breathing uneven but stronger. We walked out together, a strange temporary team formed around one ugly truth. I did not know how that meeting would end, but I finally felt ready to call her out. She stood up the second we stepped inside, chair scraping hard. Ava lifted her hand in a bright little wave like this was brunch. My girlfriend slowed beside me, breath hitching, eyes locked on that fake smile. For a heartbeat, I almost turned around, then Mason brushed my elbow. We kept going because running would hand her the story again. We stopped at the table and no one sat. Up close, Ava looked untouched by last night, hair neat, clothes perfect. You scared me, she started, reaching toward my wrist like nothing had changed. I pulled my arm back and watched something flicker across her face. She registered it, then pasted the concern right back on. We are not here for small talk, my girlfriend cut in. Her voice shook at first, then steadied like she grabbed onto anger. You told me he cornered you, threatened you, promised to blame you. She leaned down, palms on the table, knuckles white, jaw clenched. Now you are going to repeat every detail in front of all of us. Ava's gaze slid to me, searching for softness, finding none. I already told you everything, she answered, shoulders lifting in a slow shrug. I do not want to keep reliving it, especially not with him watching. Mason stepped forward, dropped his phone on the table, screen glowing. Good, he said, thumb tapping an app, then you will not mind if this is recorded. Her eyes snapped to the device, then to him, then to my girlfriend. Wow, you really brought a cameraman, she scoffed, letting out a humorless laugh. This is insane, I tried to warn you about your boyfriend and now I am on trial. Her volume rose on that last word, drawing a few glances from nearby tables. Attention never bothered her, she always knew how to weaponize it. We are not a court, I answered, finally sliding into the chair opposite. We are just done with versions that keep changing whenever you feel cornered. I kept my hands flat on the surface so she could see them. No grabbing, no shouting, just facts and whatever you do with them. I heard my own tone and realized I did not sound afraid anymore. She turned fully toward my girlfriend then, like Mason, and I vanished. You know him, she pressed, eyes wide, sprinkling tremor into her words. You know how he jokes, how he pushes lines, how charming he gets when drunk. Her fingers wrapped around my girlfriend's wrist, squeezing, pleading, pulling at history. Please do not let him flip this, I need you on my side. My girlfriend eased her wrist free, slowly, like peeling off something sticky. You texted me before the party that you wondered if I still trusted him alone with you, she reminded. You told me to keep an open mind if you flirted, that you would help him loosen up. Her voice cracked around the last phrase, but she did not look away. Explain why you would say those things if you were afraid of him. Ava blinked once, twice, gears turning behind her eyes. It was teasing, she replied, waving a hand like she chased off a mosquito. You two were fighting, I was trying to lighten the mood, make him feel included. She glanced at me like that explanation might land somewhere soft. Everything shifted when he dragged me into that room and ignored me begging him to stop. There it is, Mason muttered under his breath, leaning closer to the table. You keep saying he dragged you, he went on, louder, eyes on her. I watched you haul him down that hallway while he staggered like his legs barely worked. He jabbed a finger at the surface between them, voice flat, unimpressed. He could not pull you anywhere, he could barely stay upright without falling. Her lips compressed into a thin line, nostrils flaring once before she recovered. You were drunk too, she shot back, chin lifting. You hung around doorways all night like some creepy hall monitor, of course things looked weird. She scoffed, shaking her head, trying to shrink his credibility with every word. It is adorable that you are playing bodyguard, but you did not live it. I heard him tell you to cut it out, Mason replied, jaw tight. Twice, same phrase, same tone, that is not flirting, that is a boundary. He kept his stare locked on her, refusing to blink, refusing to soften. And I saw you shove your hand into my chest when I tried to walk in. You told me girl's best friend duty, I have him, remember that little line. That phrasing landed hard between us, like something heavy dropped. My girlfriend's shoulders jerked, like that memory hit a nerve she had buried deep. Girl's best friend duty, she repeated, tasting the words with disgust. You used our friendship as a cover for getting him alone and drugged. She straightened, eyes bright now, the dam finally cracking the right direction. Ava barked a laugh that sounded more desperate than amused. Drugged, are you serious? She scoffed, shaking her head like we lost it. I poured him tequila, maybe too much, sure, but he never pushed it away. Her gaze sliced toward me, daring me to contradict that in public. You were smiling, you were leaning in, you looked interested right up until you hurled. My pulse jumped, but I kept my voice low and even. I remember my arms giving out and you climbing on top of me, I answered. I remember grabbing your wrists and saying stop more than once because everything in me panicked. I leaned forward, letting each word land, not rushing, not pleading. And I remember crawling to the door while you yanked my ankle hard enough to bruise. Something flickered in her expression at ankle, just a flash before she smoothed it. My God, she whispered, bringing fingers to her lips for effect. You really built yourself a little victim story. Did you practice that in the mirror? She looked around the room as if inviting strangers to share the joke. This is what guys do when they freak out about getting caught. My girlfriend slapped her palm on the table, flat, sharp, loud. Enough, she snapped, eyes glassy but fierce. You told me he pinned you, threatened you, warned you he would twist things if you spoke. She pulled her phone out and unlocked it with jerky movements, then scrolled. You only added that threat detail in text this morning, not last night. She held the phone up so Ava could see her own words glowing. Then she read them out, line by line, in a clear, steady voice. You know how manipulative he gets. He told me no one will believe me. He never said that in the car, my girlfriend continued, voice shaking now with fury. In the car you were sobbing that you would lose me if I believed him over you. Ava's chin dipped slightly, eyes darting, calculating angles that kept shrinking. I did not want to scare you more when you were driving, she offered. I was trying to be gentle, then this morning I realized exactly how dark it was. She tried to look wounded, like she processed new trauma overnight. The more I replayed it, the clearer his words got. My words got, I repeated, letting the sarcasm hang there. What did I say exactly? Quote me, not a vibe, not a feeling, a line. I folded my arms across my chest to stop them shaking. If I supposedly warned you I would spin this, then recite it. I watched her search for anything that sounded convincing enough to pass. You told me if you open that door everyone will think you started this, she insisted. They're happy you want more, you want me to list every disgusting thing you muttered. Her stare burned into me, daring me to deny something I could not remember perfectly. She wanted the blank spots in my memory to work for her again. For a second, I felt that old doubt creep back in around the edges. Mason cut through it with one short snort, dragging us back to the table. When would that speech have happened? He asked, tone dry, eyebrows raised. When he was sliding off the bed like a rag doll, or when he was face down near the rear door. He tilted his head, watching her, waiting for a timeline that did not collapse. Because I was within earshot both times and I never heard a speech. Ava swallowed, throat bobbing, finally looking less like a director and more like a scrambling actor. This is insane, she repeated, voice thinning. You two have known me forever, you know I would never hurt you on purpose. Her eyes brimmed with tears on cue as she turned to my girlfriend fully. He is turning you against me because he hates that I opened your eyes. You are the one who made me doubt him first, my girlfriend answered. You planted that text hours before the party, before a single drink touched his mouth. She breathed shallow and fast, chest rising and falling in short bursts. You poured him shots no one else got, followed him everywhere, blocked the bedroom door. Her hand trembled as she spoke, but her gaze never left Ava's. She drew in a long breath and let it out slow, like choosing a cliff. I used to think you were my safest person, she went on. Now I realize you used that place to get near him in ways I would never suspect. Her voice broke unused and she paused, swallowing hard, eyes bright. That is over, I am done letting you hold my life like a prop. The word done seemed to hit Ava harder than anything directed at me. Tears overflowed for real now, streaking fast as she reached across the table. You are throwing away years of friendship for a guy who blacked out on you, she pleaded. Think about how that sounds, think about the pattern here who keeps making messes. Her hand hovered inches from my girlfriend's fingers, then dropped when nothing reached back. I realized I was gripping the edge of my chair, knuckles stiff. I loosened my fingers, leaned forward, and finally said the thing I had been avoiding. You did not just make a mistake, I told her, voice low. You targeted me, pushed drinks, got me so far gone I could not walk straight, then climbed on me anyway. I watched each clause hit her one by one, giving her no room to dodge. And when that did not work, you tried to rewrite the night, I continued. You called her first so your fear would sound real, so mine would get drowned. I could feel my breathing pick up, chest tight, but I kept going. You nearly wrecked my relationship to cover what you did in that room. Saying it clean like that made something settle inside me, heavy but solid. She stared at me with open hatred now, the gentleness gone. You think this ends with your little intervention, she hissed, voice shaking. People saw you stumbling all over her house, word travels, reputations rot fast. Her lips twisted into a cold, almost smile as she leaned back. You can play victim all you want, but some folks already picked a side. Then let them, Mason cut in, voice calm, surprising all of us. Let whoever wants to believe you go do that somewhere else. He turned his phone around so we could see the recording time ticking. If you try this story again, I will send this to anyone you involve. It was not perfect protection, but it was more than the fog I had before. My girlfriend pushed her chair back with a sharp scrape and stood. I'm not staying here one more minute, she announced, shoulders squared. If you text me again, it better be to acknowledge what you did and nothing else. She hesitated just a breath, then added the final cut. And even then, we are done. I am not your shield anymore. I rose too, my legs weirdly steady compared to the morning. For a moment I looked down at Ava, the person who once felt like part of our default group. Now all I saw was someone I never wanted near me again. Do not ever get me drunk, corner me, or talk about me behind my back again, I said. It sounded childish and huge at the same time, like drawing a line in concrete. We turned away together, Mason trailing after us, phone still recording in his hand. Behind us, I heard her chair bump the table, then a muffled curse. No sobbing apology chased us to the door this time, no desperate explanations. Just the low murmur of other customers trying not to stare and failing. For once, I did not feel responsible for making anyone else comfortable. That night, my phone lit up 3 times with her name. 3 long messages appeared stacked, each one more frantic than the last. Apologies, accusations, threats, memories she swore I had forgotten, all tangled. I read every line once, heart pounding, then opened my settings and blocked her. Watching that contact vanish was the quietest, strongest choice I had made in months. Things with my girlfriend did not magically reset after that meeting. We argued again, we cried, we went silent, we booked a counseling session. Trust does not snap back just because you aim your anger at the right target. But at least we argued from the same set of facts, not her twisted story. That made every hard conversation feel like climbing, not sinking. Now when I think about that night, the part that scares me most is not the bedroom. It is how easily everyone almost believed the first version they heard. How close I came to carrying her lie around as my reputation forever. I cannot control what strangers decide or what rumors still hang around. But I can control who pours my drinks and who gets my trust when things go dark.